McCamley. I am a New Mexico State representative from Las Cruces and Mesilla in the southern part of our beautiful state. Today is July 18th, and this is your legislative update for the day. So I am in office number 314A, and this is it right here. So if you do come up to Santa Fe and want to visit me and you're from my district or just want to say hi, please feel free to come up. I've already had a few people in today from Cruces, and it was great talking to them about various issues that they care about. The big issue on the agenda for today was fiscal solvency. So usually the first week here is pretty mellow. There's a lot of organizational stuff that goes on, a lot of ceremonial stuff. Like today, Ben Ray Lujan, one of the congressmen, came in and gave a speech, that sort of thing. But since the state is probably another $80 million short of our current budget that we need to hit for this year and not have any reserves as well, there's an effort to find about $200 to $240 million that we can still recover for this year. And what that would do is put us in the black spending-wise for the current fiscal year, as well as get our reserves up to about 2%, which is what we need to not get our bond rating dropped by Moody's service. And remember what happens if your bond rating drops. Your bond rating at the state level is like a credit rating. And if it goes down, it costs you more money to borrow money. And so it's something that if we don't work on it, our bond rating dropped a few months ago, and if we don't fix our current situation and get our reserves up, Moody's will say, hey, your credit rating's not very good, and they'll drop you again, and it'll cost you as a taxpayer more money when we do things like roads and capital improvements and all the things that we do borrow money for. So those are being discussed right now. There's no cuts to the budget being discussed. They're basically just looking at taking money from funds that are already appropriated but that have not been spent. So things like the Local Economic Development Act, there's capital projects for colonias, native projects and water. And these are not easy things to do, right? These are very needed projects that we've got, but we also need to basically balance the state budget. And since the governor has refused to look at hardly any revenue increases, that's what we're playing with right now. Now, the argument for the next fiscal year, which starts in July of this upcoming year, is going to be very hard, but it's going to be a similar one. And there's going to be a lot of people on my side of the aisle, the Democratic side of the aisle, that are not going to want to agree to a plan that balances next year's budget by cutting salaries for teachers, et cetera, and so on. And they're going to want some kind of concessions from the governor. So that's basically the big deal for today. We've just started hearing legislation, so actually my committee will have its first meeting on Monday of this upcoming week. We're going to be talking about a couple of bills, one that gives resident businesses in New Mexico a preference when applying for jobs through the state. Another one that allows for a change in broadband to allow broadband to be used with the Local Economic Development Act, and solar tax credits. This is something that I'm actually pretty familiar with since I sold solar panels for a year, and we're going to be looking at the positives and negatives of reinstituting a credit for residential and business solar panels here in New Mexico, or just residential solar panels here in New Mexico. Probably on Wednesday, my committee got one of the minimum wage bills, and so we'll be hearing that hopefully Wednesday of next week. That's what we're planning on anyway, and we'll see how things shape out. So this is your update for the day. As always, if you have questions, comments, or concerns on these or any other issues, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, and hope everyone's having a great day. Bye.